Hi, my name is Nur Afina Nabila binti Nur Azri. My ID number is MDB 23111011.
Hi, my name is Siti Nurbalkis binti Rosman and my ID number is 2311030.
Hi, my name is Nadia Akasha binti Mahadi. My ID number is MDP 23111009.
Hi everyone, my name is Noain Fazana binti Sharuniza and my ID number is 23111033. So, the question given is a low or high inflation rate an absolute indicator of an economy in a good or bad state. So here the explanation. Low inflation means the prices are growing more slowly. When the inflation decreases, the purchasing power of the people will increase. So, this is because the price of goods has dropped sharply. For example, the inflation rate also dropped to a low of 0.6% in 2009, specifically due to the contraction in global demand following the global financial crisis. In this context, inflation rates decreased due to a marked reduction in demand. A lower inflation rate isn't always better. If inflation gets too low or goes to the negative, it can hurt the economy. For example, Japan has struggled with the deflation for years, and it caused people to delay the spending, making the economy slow down. Next, high inflation means the prices are increasing quickly. It causes an overall rise prices over time, reduce the purchasing power of consumer because a fixed amount of money will afford progressively less consumption. Consumer lose purchasing power regardless of whether the inflation rate is 2% or 4%. So, in summary, both high and low inflation can become worse. High inflation reduces the value of money, but very low inflation can lead to the deflation, which can stall economic growth. It's important to find a balance.
Let's continue with question 2. Identify and explain the type of inflation based on the article. From the article, the types of inflation discussed is demand pull inflation. Firstly, decreasing demand. The article explains that the low inflation rate 1.5% may be caused by a drop in demand. When consumers and businesses buy fewer goods and services, prices don't rise as they would during demand-driven inflation. This shows how weak demand can keep inflation low. Second, impact on the economy. In a struggling economy, consumers and companies cut back on spending because they expect tough times ahead with less demand for goods and services. Prices either stay the same or rise very slowly, leading to lower inflation rates. Third, low inflation isn't always good. While low inflation might seem like a good thing, the article points out it can signal a weak economy. When people and businesses are uncertain about the future, they reduce their spending, which lowers demand and in turn keeps inflation downward, risk of deflation. The article also warns about deflation, which could happen if inflation keeps dropping. When demand is extremely low, price could fail, leading to deflation, which can worsen an economic downturn. Lastly, example of an economic crisis. The Asian financial crisis of 1997 over 98 is an example where inflation rose to 5.3% due to factors like higher production costs. This shows how demand and other factors can push price up. Contrasting with today's situation where weak demand is keeping inflation low. In summary, the article shows that demand pull inflation can happen in different ways, especially when demand is low. Usually, demand pull inflation causes price to rise, but now low demand is keeping inflation down, which may harm economic stability and growth.
So now I will proceed with question 3, which is asking the policy measure that could be effective in controlling rising inflation in Malaysia based on the article. Monetary policy is among the most widely used strategies. One way the central bank could fight inflation is by raising interest rates. This drives up the cost of borrowing and lowers spending by business and consumer. Lower pricing pressure can result from a cooling off of demand brought on by less money in circulation. Rising interest rate can also help the currency gain strength, lowering the cost of imports and reducing inflation brought on by growing import expenses. Fiscal policy is an additional choice. The quantity of money available for investment and consumption could be decreased by the government by raising tax or cutting public spending. The demand for products and service decline when there is less money in circulation, which can lessen inflationary pressure. Implementation must be done carefully since cutting back on public spending too soon could impact economic pressure. Finally, price limit and subsidies could be implemented by the government to keep necessity from rising too high. Inflationary pressure can be lessened, particularly for vulnerable groups, by imposing price caps on necessity like food and fuel, or by offering subsidies to lower costs for producers and consumers. However, since long-term regulations may result in market distortions, such interventions must only be temporary. In conclusion, Malaysia inflation can be effectively managed by combining monetary, fiscal, and targeted price control measures. This will ensure that inflation is kept under control while balancing the country's large goal for economic growth. That's it for me.
Number 1 is deflation. Low inflation for too long can lead to deflation because price keep dropping. It gives Japan as an example where this caused people delay buying things. Expecting price to go even lower, this will reduce the demand, will affect business, and the economy will slow down. Malaysia also could face a similar risk if inflation continues to fall. Second, lower buying power. Even with low inflation, wages may not grow enough. It will reduce people's ability to buy things. It shows how during the East Asian economic crisis of 1997 and 98, inflation was high and the value of the ringgit fell. Although inflation will drop, people's purchasing power decrease as prices exceed the wages, which makes life more expensive. Number 3, less consumer spending. When people expect price to keep dropping, they will spend less. It shows in 2023, consumer in Malaysia will start to spend less money due to economic uncertainty. This will reduce demand, which will affect business because fewer people will buy their products. If this trend continues, it could slow the economy like what happened in Japan. Number 4, reduce business investment. Lower spending means business make less money, so they can stop investing in new projects. The article shows how in 2023, Malaysian businesses reduced investment due to declining customer confidence. In past crises, business have hesitated to expand when inflation is high, and something similar could happen again if low inflation continue. In conclusion, while low inflation looks good, the article warns it can cause problem if it stays too low for too long. It can lead to less spending, less business growth, and a weaker economy. Malaysia will face the risk just like Japan.